Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass on the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m.
We welcome you to hour number 3, our third and final on this Friday, as we send you in to All-Star Weekend in the NBA. It begins on this Friday with the Rising Stars competition out in San Francisco by the Bay. We're learning All-Star history as we speak, with some more history at stake on Saturday in a historic new format for the All-Star game, or games, I guess you could say, on Sunday. We will try to explain all of the new changes to the format, the new structure, all of that for All-Star Weekend throughout this final hour. And we'll give you some picks to set the stage for this weekend as well. But also in this last hour, Joe, a monumental weekend ahead in college hoops. Tomorrow, for the first time, we will hear from the NCAA Selection Committee as it pertains to the men's basketball tournament, giving us an early peek and preview as they see it, the top 16 seeds in the nation right now. We get to learn a little bit of their thinking. That comes out tomorrow afternoon. And then a huge slate on a Saturday, 1 versus 2 in Tuscaloosa, to intensify the Iron Basket Bowl, if you will, between Alabama and Auburn. So much to discuss live right here in this third hour on the Early Line.
Listen, let me just say it, too. I mean, now that football's over, there are plenty of other things going on, including, Ben, if I'm not mistaken, down in my neck of the woods, how about the Daytona 500? I believe that's also revving up to get going also. So we got a little something for everybody coming up here over the next couple of weeks.
I guess so. Hey, Daytona 500, that's where they drink milk?
All day. That's correct. They pour it right over the head. No, that's Indy. That's Indy 500.
Indianapolis
that's the Indy 500, yes.
Milk. Yeah, well, we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But we wanted to hear from the people, Jim, right? Because all the changes that we are seeing to all-star formats in a variety of our professional sports, like we just had the Pro Bowl games, nobody cared. Now we've got a new format for the all-star game, trying to, I believe, make the actual games between all-stars more exciting and incentivized. I'm not sure this new format is going to do that. Do we still love the dunk contest? It's not the stars of the sport. It's basically Mac McClung each and every year. So we wanted to hear from the people. Do you still care about All-Star Weekend? And if so, what's your favorite night? We do that now in Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, what is your favorite night of NBA All-Star Weekend? I'm not sure Adam Silver watches the early line. I don't know if he pays attention to SportsGrid programming. Not sure he follows the Spiz Grizz on Twitter. But if he were to see this, Joe, at least by our audience's sample size in this Fade the Public poll, not a great indication that All-Star Weekend is doing all that hot. What is your favorite night of All-Star Weekend? I don't watch it all. Is the runaway winner with 73% of the votes. The Chuck, our Clemens DFS, replied, the night it's over. That's not great, Joe. That's not great. For what it's worth, I voted for Saturday. I still think the dunk contest is kind of fun. 3-point contest, kind of fun. But that was really the vote I had. Ranieri, which way did you vote? Do you think the public got it at all wrong by saying I don't watch it all?
No, this will be one of the few times that I will be backing the public in a very big way here, Ben, because come Sunday, I can't think of anything worse that I'd want to do than try to figure out the rules of this new format as I'm watching it going. What are these uniforms and who are these people and what is going on? I am with them. As soon as it is over is the best part of All-Star Weekend.
And yet, we are here in this third hour, previewing it all and trying to give you some weekend winners for those of you that might be invested. Let's start with the actual All-Star Game format. Can we even call it an All-Star Game? It's All-Star Games format now for Sunday night. It is not the track meet we have seen the last decade plus. It doesn't involve the Elam ending anymore to try to make the fourth quarter competitive. It is simply this. We have 4 teams. We have divided all of our All-Stars into 4 teams that will be coached, in essence, by NBA and Turner Sports personalities. Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Candace Parker. All of our games on All-Star Sunday night will be a race, the first to 40. We have 2 semifinal matchups and then a championship game to crown the All-Star champion. So, Chuck's Global Stars, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, Donovan Mitchell, Alperen Şengün, Pascal Siakam, Karl Anthony Towns, Victor Wembanyama, Trae Young. Shaq's OGs, Jaylen Brown, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum. Kenny's young stars, Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Darius Garland, Tyler Hero, Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, Jalen Williams, and then Candace Parker will coach the Rising Stars champion from tonight's matchups, where we also have 4 teams coached by NBA stars of past and present, or I guess mostly past, and then she'll take over. Candace Parker will, that Rising Stars champs for the All-Star Games on Sunday. The format, those 2 semifinal games, first to 40. 2 winners of the semifinal matchups will play each other in the All-Star Game Championship on Sunday, also first to 40. I hope that made sense. I'm not sure it did.
What? But isn't the championship? How does is it all 240, Ben? I'm trying to think, because I think the championship is supposed to be to 25, or they're all towards 40. So are we going to get some sort of defense now? Is that what we're supposed to be? Like, because this is 40 could be done and the game could be over in 2.5 minutes the way they play defense here. So I call me crazy. Are we expecting this number of 40 to create more guys interested in playing defense?
Is the shorter sprint going to mean better basketball?
Right.
Like you can just play fast, so try to end it quickly and actually play what looks to be more like an competitive NBA game? Or is it just like, who cares? Let's throw it around and see who gets the 41st. I have no idea. I'm not sure the players, the coaches, or anybody involved has any sort of idea. Joe, I still voted for All-Star Saturday, by the way. I don't care about the skills challenge, like whatever. I still think the three-point contest is fun. Damian Lillard trying to make history to become the third ever three-peat champion alongside Larry Bird, who won the first three, and Craig Hodges, who won 3 in a row in the early 90s. Cool. He's a 3-1 favorite. Dunk contest also looking for a three-peat champion. Somebody get Matt McClung awake and ready to go. He's a minus 210 favorite. I still think it's fun, right? Even if the dunks aren't necessarily new, innovative, or creative. And maybe it's not LeBron James versus Anthony Edwards in the dunk contest, but it's still kind of cool to see guys dunk a basketball in a wild way.
Well, especially if you're 6'2" and don't even play in the NBA. I think that's fantastic. I think really that's the way to approach it here. Oh, I'm sorry. 2-way contract. I forgot. Way to go, Orlando. And how much worse could it get for you, Orlando, by the way? You can't score anyway, so why not bring a guy that's 6'2" that can jump over everyone and dunk? But I am not betting against him, Ben. I'm with you. I'll lay it.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk about those picks for the dunk contest and beyond a little bit. If you needed more from All-Star Weekend, it starts tonight. Our Rising Stars competition, handicaps and breakdowns. Next.
Slow play drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scoburn, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
But if it ends up being 1 versus 2, which seems likely because the Cavs had a 5.5 game lead over Boston, the Celtics 3 games clear of the New York Knicks.
They're not unstoppable, not running away with everything, but for them to blow a 5.5 game lead on the backstretch in the NBA, already being a quality team outside of disastrous injuries, I don't buy that at this time.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All-Star Weekend in the NBA starts tonight with the Rising Stars Challenge. Much like the NBA All-Star Games on Sunday night, a similar format. 4 teams, 2 semifinal games, the race to 40, first to 40 wins, and then in the championship game, it's the first to only 25. An additional wrinkle to the Rising Stars competition, the winner of tonight's Rising Stars competition will play on Sunday, coached by Candace Parker in the All-Star game, and square off in their opening matchup against Shaq's OGs. Maybe we start to talk about the format How does Shaq OGs get an easier path to the final? Because they got LeBron? I don't know. Anyway, different story for a different time. Just quickly, Joe, here are the odds for tonight's Rising Stars competition inside the Chase Center. Team Mitch Richmond, plus 150. Team Chris Mullen, maybe he's feeling the good tides of St. John's men's basketball at this moment. Team Tim Hardaway, that would be Tim Hardaway Sr., not Jr., who still plays in the NBA. And how about some Lynn Sanity? Team Jeremy Lin, who is coaching the G League guys, or at least Team G League. His team not great. Matt McClung playing in this. Reed Shepard out there, which is kind of cool. A bunch of two-way players. In my estimation, I think the best team, and this is just my estimation, is Team Chris Mullen. Steph Castle, Ryan Dunn, Keontae George, Zach Edey, and Trace Jackson Davis, Dalton Connect, and Jalen Wells. We can list all the teams if you guys would even care, if you would even know half of the players by name, but that's the Rising Stars odds for tonight. That will be included, of course, in our All-Star Weekend Pick 6 to end out this edition of the Early Line.
Yes, interesting. There are, the interesting part about it, though, Ben, is that some of these teams and some of these players playing in this game here tonight, that's the future of the NBA, man. There are some kids in these games playing tonight. They're going to be around the NBA for the next couple of decades. So get used to their names because there's a few really, really good ones on the court tonight.
On Team T, Team Tim Hardaway, we have the first and second overall picks from this past summer. That would be Zachary Rizache and Alex Sarr. They are the French guys that are trying to take the NBA by storm. All right, that's the Rising Stars Challenge. Again, semifinal matchups, first to 40, championship game, first to 25. The champion of the Rising Stars Challenge will play on All-Stars Sunday night in their opening round matchup against Team Shaq, Shaq's OGs, looking to make some noise and pull off an upset against guys like LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, so on and so forth. That's got to be pretty cool. So maybe some incentives to stick around for the entirety of All-Star Weekend. What else is pretty cool? Friday night college basketball in a blue blood battle in Bloomington inside Assembly Hall. Of course, a lot going on right now with IU. They're going to need a new head coach at the end of this year. Mike Woodson is stepping down. A lot of Bloomington, Indiana focused on a native of Bloomington. That would be a certain man by the name of Brad Stevens, who currently is the front office exec of the Boston Celtics. But even with all of that, Joe, and the chaos outside of the basketball court, Indiana, huge upset. Double-digit dog on the road earlier this week, Tuesday night in East Lansing, knocking off Michigan State. UCLA continues to be on the road where they were on Tuesday in Champaign, gave Illinois a good test down the stretch to make it a competitive game, but still came up short by 5, did cover as a 6.5-point road dog. But, Joe, the story for the Bruins, and Mick Cronin has made it pretty clear all year long, that Big Ten expansion leads to a lot of Big Ten travel. And UCLA and Big Ten play has not been great outside of the Pacific time zone. They are 9-1 in the Pacific time zone. That even includes road games in the Northwest or inside the Galen Center against USC. But, Joe, in the Central or Eastern time zones, where much of the Big Ten resides, UCLA is now 0-4 straight up. Indiana in the Midwest, and they're a slight home dog tonight against UCLA. How do you consider this blue blood battle playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm showing 0-5 in the Pacific, outside of the Pacific or Mountain time zones, Ben. So the problem is they've been in the Midwest now. This is the second game for them, as you mentioned, there against Illinois. So they've had some time here to assimilate and get used to the time change. And Cronin's been, he's been screaming and yelling from the beginning that it's just unfair what the schedule is. But give credit to Mick Cronin and UCLA. They have responded against adversity. A couple of months ago, all those trips out east, I mean, they were going through it. But this is a good team. This is a very, very good team. that I think will not be surprised by any sort of zone defense that Indiana might throw at them like Michigan State was. I think UCLA is primed for a bounce back, and I think Indiana, listen, Woodson's leaving for a reason. I think they come back down to reality here, and ultimately UCLA will get its first win outside of those time zones.
There was a lot at stake on Tuesday night in East Lansing. There was an opportunity for Tom Izzo with a victory, which the odds makers expected the Spartans to have. Frankly, everybody did, understanding that Indiana was riding a 5-game skid. For Izzo to win Big Ten game number 354, moving past Bob Knight, the Indiana great, for the winningest head coach ever in Big Ten games in men's basketball history. Mike Whitson, for his former head coach when he was a player in Bloomington, had other ideas. Was that the peak for IU? Do they continue it back home inside Assembly Hall? And then maybe you saw that title, Blue Blood Battle. Are these guys crazy? They are blue bloods, both of them. UCLA, of course, the most national championships ever in men's Division I college basketball, 11. They haven't won one since 1995, but they do have 11. Indiana has 5. They haven't won one since 1987 under Bob Knight, but they also have 5. These two programs, 2 of the 6 programs at the D1 level in men's college hoops, with at least 5 national champions. More college basketball next.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
But if it ends up being 1 versus 2, which seems likely because the Cavs had a 5.5-game lead over Boston, the Celtics 3 games clear of the New York Knicks.
They're not unstoppable, not running away with everything, but for them to blow a 5.5-game lead on the backstretch in the NBA, already being a quality team outside of disastrous injuries, I don't buy that at this time.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
So some college basketball on this Friday night and a ton of college basketball this weekend. We have such a great slate of games tomorrow and even Sunday. And on Sunday, we will be 4 weeks out exactly from Selection Sunday, when an NCAA tournament bracket is unveiled. And Joe, tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time on a Saturday afternoon, really before the entirety of the college hoops slate gets underway, the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee will come together to give us that sneak preview they have the past few years. The top 16 seeds as they see it right now for the big dance in just about a month. And it's starting to feel like these games are even more important, night in, night out, week over week. And Joe, tomorrow we make some history. For the first ever time in SEC men's basketball, we have a matchup between the number 1 team in the AP poll and the number 2 team in the AP poll. And it's a rivalry now amplified. The Iron Basket Bowl, if you will, between number 1 Auburn and number 2 Alabama. Tomorrow inside Coleman Coliseum, a 4 p.m. Eastern time tip is when we expect to get things underway between 1 versus 2. The line is already out. You don't often get lines for Saturday this early on a Friday morning unless the game is a monumental matchup, and that's what we have. The Tide, an ever so slight favorite at home, but it's basically a pick'em with an outlandishly high total of 171.5. That's what you have when you have Alabama, one of the best offenses in the country, and an Auburn team that, of course, can keep pace. Just to say what is at stake for this game, not just the first 1 versus 2 ever in the history of SEC men's basketball, our first 1 versus 2 in men's hoops since November 2021. Just our 5th 1 versus 2 game in the last decade in men's college basketball. And oh yeah, not only a rivalry between the Tigers and the Tide, but a game, Joe, that could decide the top spot in the SEC. With all of that history and all of that significance on the line tomorrow afternoon in Tuscaloosa, Joe, will the game match the hype?
Yeah, well, you got to think, well, look at that total, Ben. Like 171.5. And I don't think people realize how unbelievably rare this is. They went to 64 teams, Ben, back in 1984 and 85 for the tournament. And since then, we've only had 16 regular season matchups between number 1 and number 2. The most recent was in 2021 when Gonzaga destroyed number 2 UCLA. But outside of that, we've only had 8 matchups that have actually ever come from the same conference. I mean, this is rarefied college basketball that we're going to get, where number 1 and number 2 are facing each other from the same conference at this point in the season here. And by the way, usually those 2 teams, or at least history tells us, they make a deep run in March here. None of them have ever won it, though, of those 16 games. No team has ever actually won it all, but boy, oh boy, they have made a run. And when you look at these 2 teams, man, number 1 and number 2 in offensive efficiency. That's why that total is the way it is. And don't forget, to start the season, Alabama couldn't hit a 3 if their life depended on it. Not so much anymore here, Ben. Now they're hitting almost 40% of their threes. They're now 40th in the country in three-point efficiency. I don't expect a lot of defense. I expect a lot of points in this game.
And last year, Joe, we knew that this was Alabama's style. It has been under Nate Oates. They attempt a lot of their shots from 3. They play at a very fast tempo, and they are elite on the offensive end. But last year, at the end of the NCAA tournament, Alabama ended 111th in adjusted defensive efficiency on KenPom. This year, they're 40th. They're never going to be an elite defense. Their style does not allow that to be the case. They don't play a half-court, grinded-out type of game. But to be better by 70 spots speaks lengths about what the Crimson Tide have done to shore up their defensive side of the floor. Auburn, most efficient offense, 17th most efficient defense. This will be just the 3rd game for the Tigers this year as an underdog. They won outright against Houston on the road, opening few weeks of the year. They did not cover against Duke inside Cameron Indoor before SEC play started. First game for the Tigers officially as an underdog within the SEC. Let's talk about the rest of our Saturday slate in college basketball next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Road management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What a Saturday and really weekend we have in college basketball. So many great games on Saturday, even a couple that we will see on Sunday. The weekend watch list, Joe, in total, 4 top 25 tilts. A couple of these tomorrow that we'll highlight, at least on this page. We also have 1 versus 2, so make that 5 top 25 tilts in total, ranked versus ranked, with a couple others that are also sensational. Some games tomorrow. A big one in the Big 12. Houston heads out to Tucson to take on Arizona. Wisconsin travels to Mackey to visit Purdue. The Boilermakers hoping to bounce back from a loss earlier this week on the road inside the Chrysler Center. Elsewhere in the SEC, a couple of rivalries tomorrow. 1 versus 2 between Auburn and Alabama. How about the Egg Bowl in basketball? Mississippi State visiting Oxford and Ole Miss. The Bulldogs struggling. They've dropped 6 of their last 9. And, Joe, a game on Sunday afternoon inside Madison Square Garden between St. John's and Creighton that will decide the top spot in the Big East. The Johnnies saw their 10-game win streak come to a close earlier in the week at Villanova. Tyler Perkins burying a triple in the final 10 seconds of regulation to give the Cats the victory. Creighton saw its 9-game win streak snapped earlier in the week at home against UConn. Both teams trying to start a new streak, and the winner of that game will take over sole possession based on tiebreaker in the Big East come Sunday afternoon at the close inside the Mecca. It just speaks, Joe, to the strength of this weekend in college basketball, both Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I got to tell you, very interesting, a couple of these games. I think the Johnnies coming off a game against Villanova in which they took more threes than 2-point shots. I think there's going to be a big adjustment in that game for St. John's against Creighton. But that's a huge game for the Big East because the Johnnies win. They're firmly in control of that situation there. It's a big opportunity for Creighton here to go to Madison Square Garden and handle business. St. John's just doesn't shoot well enough for me. But the Houston and Arizona game, I think, is monstrous. I think this is the worst Tommy Lloyd Arizona team that he has had, and I think that's saying something here, Ben. But this Houston team is so different than what we've seen in years past with Coach Sampson, where we always knew they could play defense. It was offensively that worried you. They'd have to play these games, first one to 55, 60 would win. Well, not anymore. This is a team shooting 40% from three this year, Ben. This team is one of the best shooting teams in the country. Coupled with that defense, Houston's won 16 of its last 17 for a reason, Ben, and they are very much alive for a national championship this year.
They still play at a very slow tempo. That's what they do. Fifth slowest in the country. This, Joe, is the only matchup between the Cougs and the Wildcats, the top two teams in the Big 12. Houston is 12-1. Arizona is 11-2. Arizona visited Kansas State earlier this week and learned how great of basketball the other Wildcats are playing. Jerome Tang's team has won 6 in a row and covered in 9 straight. Joe, to your point on Houston, great defensively, top 5. Yeah, that's what Kelvin Sampson does. 6th most efficient offense in the country. That is a recipe for success, not just within the Big 12, but deep, deep, deep into the big dance and a Final Four run. Houston, a little bit under the radar to start. I would not say any longer. Joe, where we stand right now, this early on a Friday morning, we don't have the odds out just yet on our lovely provider, the FanDuel Sportsbook, for most of those matchups, even the top 25 ranked versus ranked games that we have tomorrow. The only one we do as of this moment, 1 versus 2, Auburn versus Alabama. So we use the Ken Palm projections to try to get a feel of who's going to be favored, what the over-under is going to look like. Ken Palm has Houston winning by 3 tomorrow in Tucson, so we would expect the Cats to be a slight underdog at home. Big bounce-back spot for Purdue against a Wisconsin team that can really light it up offensively this year. Again, the Bulldogs from Starkville, Mississippi State, dropped 6 of their last 9, Joe. They've only covered once in that span. Ole Miss playing better basketball. Creighton and St. John's important because St. John's is most recent loss before earlier this week on Wednesday against Villanova came against Creighton in Omaha. And then the Johnnies went on that 10-game win streak. So if St. John's does falter inside Madison Square Garden, they'll be a slight home favorite, of course, against the Jays. Creighton would have the season series sweep and have that tiebreaker advantage, but both teams would have the same record within the Big East. So very important jockeying here as we are about 4 weeks away from Selection Sunday. Joe, only really about 6, 7, 8 games remaining in conference action for these teams before we get to conference tournaments, and then, of course, the weekend that will decide the bracket.
Yeah, it's crunch time here, Ben. Some of these teams, certainly some of the teams on the bubble who need some wins and need them desperately. This is the time of year, Ben, where you can really find some value, especially in those one-and-done conferences, Ben. We got a lot of them here where teams, well, they need to win their conference tournament or they need to finish up at the top in order to give themselves a chance to go dancing. I think it's going to be fascinating to see with all of these readjusted and alignment and these conferences, some of the names that are going to be left out this year, Ben, I think are going to be staggering.
And you look at the bubble because of what we have seen throughout conference play, it's not exactly the strongest or firmest bubble we have seen in recent years. Duke continues to run roughshod through the ACC. They bounced back from their loss last Saturday at Clemson with a 21-point win against Cal. The Berkeley Bears did cover as a 23.5-point road dog. Duke gets Stanford, who has been good at times this year in the ACC under Kyle Smith in his first year in Palo Alto, but now they have dropped 3 of their last 4. Tennessee hoping to bounce back from a loss earlier in the week insider up against Kentucky. They host Vanderbilt. Keep an eye on Texas A&M, playing great ball right now under Buzz Williams. Getting an Arkansas team, Joe. The Razorbacks playing better in the last 2 weeks. That should be a really good game. Michigan State and Illinois tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox. One of my favorite games of the day. The Illini not ranked, but I think if you were to look at them, you would consider them one of the 20 or 25 best teams in the country. That should be a great one. The Spartans looking to stay atop the Big Ten standings to rival their biggest rival in Michigan, who heads to Columbus on Sunday afternoon for a very big game in that rivalry between the Wolverines and the Buckeyes. And Kentucky hoping to keep it going tomorrow afternoon in Austin against Texas.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that was a huge win for Dusty May and Michigan coming back there against Purdue. Now the question is, can they build off of that, or are they going to go to Ohio State and get pummeled? And that's the fear that you have with this Michigan team. I think Arkansas has finally figured some things out. I think that is going to be maybe the more interesting matchup of the weekend. Can they put a string together of some wins against some ranked teams? And then all of a sudden, Calipari very firmly in the mix.
They've won 3 of their last 4, Joe, including that return for Coach Cal 2 Saturdays ago to Lexington and Rupp Arena. The only loss last Saturday at home to Alabama, but only by 4 points. It wasn't a disastrous effort by any means. Again, we don't have the odds out for any of these games outside of 1 versus 2, Auburn and Alabama tomorrow. Certainly not the Sunday games. But Michigan is projected right now to lose by 2 points against Ohio State. That could be one of those weird phenomenons in college basketball where the unranked home team in the Buckeyes are a home favorite. All-Star Weekend.
At some point, these ADs are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
We don't care if you don't want it. Here it is. Let's win some money throughout All-Star Weekend. Maybe it's not the most exciting, and maybe the format is confusing and you don't understand it. Doesn't mean we can't profit from it with some value plays and some winners for an NBA All-Star Weekend Pick 6. Live right here on the Early Line. He is Joe Ranieri. I am Ben Stevens. We will give you an All-Star Game winner for the All-Star Games that we have on Sunday. All-Star Game MVP as well. Dunk contest winner, 3-point contest winner, skills challenge winner, all of that, All-Star Saturday night. And it kicks off tonight in San Francisco with the Rising Stars Challenge. So, Joe, without further ado, who's winning the All-Star games this year? Is it Shaq's OGs? Is it Chuck's Global Stars? Is it Kenny's Young Stars? Is it Candace's Rising Stars? Who comes home with an All-Star game trophy?
Ben, I think it's very hard to go against Chuck here, and I think that's probably where I'm going to go. It's a little chalky, but Team Chuck to me, there's just a ridiculous amount of quality players on this team. The only thing you have to worry about in this market, Ben, is motivation, right? Which usually comes from the younger guys, not necessarily the older guys, but I do think that there's just too much talent on Team Chuck to pass up taking the 2-1 while you can.
And they are not the favorites. The even money favorites are Shaquille O'Neal's OGs, featuring guys like LeBron, Steph, KD, Jason Tatum, James Harden, so on and so forth. I would disagree. I think currently, and again, we don't know motivation or incentivized enthusiasm for this game, but Joe, I actually think the most talented team is the one that you have selected, Chuck's Global Star, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, the two frontrunners in a large way to win NBA MVP. Jokic doesn't care much about All-Star games, but maybe he'll be a little bit more bought in because it's a race not to 250, but only 40 points this year. Then you've got guys like Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, Karl Anthony Towns, and then Pascal Siakam, Alperen Şengün, and Victor Wembanyama in his first All-Star game. And we know Wemby cares about these things, so maybe that is enough. Joe, I'm going to go with a slight upset. And this is mainly a money thing, a numbers thing, if you will, because you can bet the individual semifinal matchups that will lead to the championship All-Star game. And the market is kind of working to my guy, Kenny's Young Stars, in their opening round game against your pick, Chuck's Global Stars. 3.5-point spread was 4.5 yesterday, minus 160 money line in favor of Chuck, plus 130 for Kenny. Joe, I believe the winner of that game is going to win the All-Star game overall. I'll probably give the odd to Shaq's OGs against Candace's Rising Stars, because you'll have like LeBron against some G League two-way guys you've never probably heard of in your life, and they're a 6.5-point favorite. But I think the winner of Chuck's Global Stars or Kenny's Young Stars wins the entire thing. Why? Motivation, incentivized nature of getting there and knocking off the OGs that have been doing this for a while, and you're like, all right, whatever. And I like the young stars. Jalen Brunson, 7 years in the NBA, but sure, we'll call him a young star. Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Darius Garland, Tyler Hero, Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, two of the most dynamic front court stars in the NBA, and Jalen Williams. And if I think this young group is young and hungry to make a statement in some of their first ever All-Star appearances, or maybe just the first handful in their career, I'll take the young stars at a plus 410 price to win the NBA All-Star game. Why not?
Listen, I have absolutely no issue with that handicap, Ben, because you're right. Why not? The reality is we have no idea the motivation of what we're going to get from the old school guys here that are going to be on these teams here. I mean, LeBron usually doesn't go to these things expecting to lose or wanting to lose. But, you know, I can't imagine that Jokic and SGA and Karl Anthony Towns and Wemby, you know, Wemby was the deciding factor for me because something tells me he's a guy still trying to fit in, still trying to make his mark. And I think this could be the all-star game coming out party for him as well.
And Victor Wembanyama tied for the second best price to win All-Star Game MVP. Steph Curry is the favorite at 5-1. But Wemby there with his international or global teammate SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 8-1, and LeBron James at an 8-1 price as well. LeBron and Dame a part of the OG's squad. Of course, Joe, it should be correlated. You would expect the winner of this format to then have the MVP on its roster. So who is your selection for the All-Star Game MVP?
Listen, the fact that you can get this guy at 8-1 is just give me SGA. He appears to be a guy that's unstoppable in any format, in any way, shape, or form. And while it's certainly easy to pick some of the bigger name guys here, I still think he's undervalued. And something tells me he's going to try to keep adding to the mantle as many trophies as possible. I think at 8-1, worth a flyer here with him.
I'll go to Jalen Brunson, who you see at the bottom of that board at 18-1. If I think Kenny's young stars can win, Brunson provides that veteran status, perhaps, for Kenny's young stars. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is just all-star nod number 2 in Brunson's career, each of the previous 2 seasons. And if you go to the Garden right now, every time Brunson touches the ball, MVP chants rain out inside MSG. So if I think Kenny's young stars are going to win it, give me Jalen Brunson to lead the way at an 18-1 price to win All-Star Game MVP. There is a lot of consideration for the Knicks MVP to maybe do just that, Joe, for the All-Star Game MVP as well. On the other side of the break, bear with us, we'll continue our All-Star Weekend winners and this pick 6. We'll fly through All-Star Saturday night, give you a Rising Stars pick to tip off the weekend on this Friday, and maybe a college basketball best bet for this Friday evening as well before we head out. A lot to do before we round out the show. On the other side of the break, live right here on a Friday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Come back and join us.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass on the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's continue our All-Star Weekend Pick 6 and go now to All-Star Saturday night. Dunk contest, three-point contest skills challenge. Joe, let's start with the dunk contest. Will it be a three-peat for Mac McClung, the star of the Osceola Magic, who has played in one NBA game this year for the Orlando Magic and yet is looking to win his third consecutive dunk contest crown?
I mean, what are we supposed to do here? I mean, how are we betting against anything that is 6'2" G Leaguer on a two-way contract on Orlando? Every time he rises, what did he do? Jump over Shaq last year to get another perfect score and win? I mean, it's $2. It's a $2 favorite for a reason. I would not be shocked, Ben, that before this event goes off, this thing gets up to over $3, maybe even minus $3.50. I love the other guys in the competition, but everything they do, Ben, is going to look the same. Anything he does is going to stand out to those in the crowd.
I can understand the betting philosophy of saying, I'm not going to lay a wager of greater than $2 in minus money for something as random and subjective as a dunk contest, where often the judges like to joke more than they actually like to watch the actual event. I get that. Modest Buzelis, the rookie for the Bulls, little Boozy Vert, he's got some ups, 5-1. How about a pair of former UConn players, Andre Jackson Jr. for Milwaukee, Steph Castle, a rookie for San Antonio, plus 750. I understand it. But I think Mac McClung is a favorite for a reason. This is all he does. This is what he does. I'm not going to bet against that if we could even bet it here stateside. These numbers, courtesy of our Canadian friends on the FanDuel Sportsbook. But maybe you can find your way of laying down a wager. 3-point contest, Joe. Who wins it?
I mean, my goodness. It's another one of these situations where Lillard going for a three-peat here. He has gotten 26 points in 4 consecutive rounds during these back-to-back wins. That is a level of consistency that's out of control. Darius Garland, though, and I think Tyler Hero are right there. I think they have an opportunity to get it done at a pretty decent price. I mean, we talked about it. Tyler Hero, 3 of 14 yesterday. Wasn't great, but that means he's not going to miss in this one. He is 5th in the league in three-pointers this year, 38% three-point shooter. Tyler Hero for me at that price.
Poetic, a 3 of 14 guy, then going to win the three-point contest just a couple of nights later. Donnie's guy is Norm Powell for the LA Clippers. And thus, kind of the early lines guy has become Norman Powell of the LA Clippers. Having a sensational year at plus 650, I will take a shot. We're talking about 2 three-peat opportunities. Mac McClung trying to join Nate Robinson as the only three-peat champs of the dunk contest. Damian Lillard, the favorite to win the three-point contest, trying to become just the 3rd ever to win 3 in a row. The first since Craig Hodges in the early 90s, who won 3 straight after Larry Bird won 3 straight in the first 3 years of the three-point contest. Skills challenge tomorrow night as well. Joe, what do you like?
Listen, I think this is going to be a big opportunity for Victor Wembanyama, and I love his partner of Chris Paul, who's not going to be at many of these events for much longer here. So I think this is a good opportunity to be able to go out. I know Moody and Draymond are going to be the crowd favorites there with Team Warriors, but I think the Team Spurs got a good shot at taking this home.
You got Team Cavs as the favorite, Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, 2 All-Stars. Maybe that's why they get the nod. I'm going with Team Rooks. Give me Zachary Rizache and Alex Sarr. Trying to remind everybody, hey, we were the 1st and 2nd overall picks for a reason. Rising Stars Challenge, Joe. I'm going with Team C, led by Chris Mullen, who has some coaching chops. Basically, here's the handicap. I think they're a talented group. And if you're going to put Zach Edey, the Purdue legend, and Trace Jackson Davis, the Indiana legend, on the same team, you're going to get my money.
Yeah, I don't hate that either. I'm going to go with my man Tim Hardaway, Tim T here. I love Jaime Jaquez Jr., Rizache, Sarr, you talked about it, Plzeňski there who plays in that building. I think Tim T's got a good opportunity to get it done.
Don't forget the winner of tonight's Rising Stars Challenge plays in the All-Star Game festivities on Sunday. Quickly, college basketball best bet for this Friday. Go.
UCLA, -1.5.
Love it. I'm going with San Jose State at home, one of the best cover teams in the country, getting 6.5 against Nevada. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you Monday.